The first thing I see going is all the corporations that don't provide a service or a good that we actually need. They'll just go. They'll be the first thing that just disappears.
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones that will stick around are the ones that make useful stuff. All of the stuff that feed off the process, they're gone. They're already gone.
Well, and there's one other point as far as what Chris said. That's all absolutely correct. But there's one other part that is preserved, and that is for those who just want to be in their own space. You know, you don't have to be part of a co-op. You can just be how you choose. Some people will love and enjoy the fun of doing and being with others that are like-minded. The point is to have that opportunity for all the opportunities, all the data be put on one table and let people choose as they want to be.
That's the hardest thing people have to get their head around, I think. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people have said to me when they're trying to get their head around a new financial system or that we're all equal or things like that, well, it's not fair if someone can survive by sitting around on the couch watching telly all day and, others are contributing to society. And I personally think we should all take 3 months holiday, but out of the system.
But see, that's kind of the point. You get out of a system what you put into it. If you're not putting any value into the system, then you have no right to take any value from a system.
That's right.
Okay, so it works
at the moment. People are hanging around on the couch and watching TV and doing nothing, almost as a knee-jerk reaction to the system. I mean, I know people who don't want to work because they don't want to contribute to the beast, is their saying. So they feel like getting a job or doing anything that contributes to the system, they can't bring themselves to do it. And to people around them, they look like just lazy bums right now. But they're actually highly conscious and highly motivated to do something. They just can't find a way of doing something that doesn't contribute to the beast yet.
You know, this is what I've discovered, and you're right, Lisa. This is probably one of the hardest things for people to get their minds around because they've been indoctrinated in this whole slavery mentality. And when you actually are confronted with the idea that you're free, you know, like we mentioned before, you know, after the slaves were free, how many of them were still working for a year or so before they even realized it? You know, when the World War II was over, you know, how many people, you know, were still operating under the idea that the war was still going on before they actually stepped out of the concentration camps and you know, took their first steps out into real freedom. And here we are, you know, we've been in this system for all of our lives, and now suddenly, you know, in the stroke of a pen, all of that is gone. You know, how do you function? How do you move forward? And this is where, you know, it takes a little bit of contemplation and thinking, because a lot of these people who you think are sitting around and they're not working, they're thinking. They've got ideas, you know, they've had the time, because I've been on disability for a couple years now. And one of the things that I found is you get a lot of time now, once you're not in survival mode, you get a lot of time to think and to think about what it is that you really want to do. And there's people out there that have ideas for, you know, revolutionary ideas about how to solve our energy problems, about how to solve, you know, a lot of our health problems, about how to solve a lot of the things that we face in day-to-day lives. But they've never been given an opportunity to put those things forward because of the system that was in the way. You know, lack of money, lack of funding, lack of, you know, support, lack of exposure. And now all of these things become possible, you know, to introduce without the system being there. And we're learning right now how to operate that way, you know, with this new mentality, you could take the man out of slavery, but to get the slavery out of the man and to actually get them to be free and to recognize their own divinity before God, that there's no authority that stands between that.
Yeah, that's the hard part, isn't it? There's a lot of people that find freedom to be very, very scary. And what do you do with these people? What do you do with people who actually want the system to stay there because they want a parent? You know, I mean, the way I see it, with the CVAC that you've got there, that will kind of cater for this, and people will be able to sort of make a gradual transition if they would choose to.
Yeah, well, you've heard the difference between involuntary servitude and voluntary servitude, right?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so essentially, we knew, the OPPT, the trustees, we all knew that some would choose slavery, meaning they would choose to delegate their responsibility, because that's all it is. You're just delegating your responsibility of being and doing to someone else. And yet, if you do that transparently and you agree to the terms and conditions of how that's going to be and how that's going to be done, then all of a sudden you have something that's lawful and legal. If you have all this deception and all this non-transparency, that's where you get the involuntary servitude and the unlawfulness and the illegalness. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So the CVAC actually presented the opportunity for it all to be there. Those that aren't comfortable at the moment of being and doing, responsible and consciously, they have all these others who are willing to do it for them. But there's got to be a value for value exchange, right? So that's what it is. However, you know, we had this conversation with bankers all day long. The bankers don't think anyone's competent or of capacity, that they're ignorant and stupid, and that if you give them $1,000, it'll be gone in a heartbeat. Well, maybe 5 years ago, maybe even a year ago, maybe even 6 months ago. However, at this point, they created conditions by their own free will choice that have gotten people to the point of precipice. You know, either I'm not happy. Everyone is so not happy, and the contrasts are so obvious that even the most asleep, the one that's in coma, understands it's not working for them.
Well, yeah, that's why this seems to be so attractive, and that's why I see this as such a great move, and I really love what you guys have done. We've got about 7 or 8 minutes left. Is there anything you'd really like to say? Anyone would really like to put some message across?
Well, I'd just like to say that the thing that scares people most is the feeling that the system's being kind of pulled out from under them. But what we ask you to do is stop and think and read the documents if you can, because there's a lot of information in there that will highlight just how transparent and how equitable everything is.
Where are the documents, Chris? What are the websites that people can go to find out the information about all this?
Okay, well, we've got the People's Trust 1776.org, written as it's spoken, People's Trust 1776.org. That website was meant for legal disclosure, and it's not a general information website, but the documents, the core documents, are all there, and if you're inclined to read them, I'd highly recommend it. But what I wanted to say about it was that some people express that this will unleash anarchy, and I say absolutely not. I think get them to sit down and think about it for even 10 minutes, and it's going to unleash creativity from one end of the planet to the other. You won't be able to hold people down. They will just say, this is what we've been waiting for. This is how we can actually take and create a community that's absolutely our own. And yes, we've got to take responsibility for it. Yes, we've got a lot to learn. But this is our chance to actually be and do something really human instead of just living at the behest of a small group of people who want to do it entirely for their own benefit. And we can break completely away from that, and is, as Heather says, in the twinkling of an eye.